Hey, tell Steve Harvey I don't want him.
Just remember that you're the prize always.
Say that one more time.
Just remember that you are the prize.
Michael B. Jordan won the Oscar, and somewhere across the city, Lori Harvey felt it. Not the celebration, the weight. The specific stomach-dropping weight of watching someone you let go reach the highest peak of the exact mountain you watched them climb when they were yours.
Yes! That's like his golden slogan for me.
Yeah. And what does that mean for you in relationships when you're like, I'm the prize? What does that mean?
It just means not compromising like my values, my happiness, my peace, not settling for less than what I know I deserve, and not being afraid to walk away from a situation if it's like no longer serving me.
Shut up. Imagine calling yourself the prize of you dating Future, baby. That's why I always tell my young G's, their past matters. The type of men that they used to date and they past matters. Imagine saying that I just will never compromise my expectation. Meanwhile, you getting your back twisted and rearranged by a dude like Future.
The Academy Award for Best Actor. His name called. His name. The same man she left, then shaded, then allegedly tried to reach back out to before the win even happened.
Just listens to me when I talk. Like even, the other day I had just been saying I really wanted to go to a farmer's market. And so he called me one morning, Sunday morning. He was like, what are you doing? Get dressed, I'm about to come pick you up. And he took me an hour away. It's this
keeping stuff to yourself and keeping it private and learning, when to talk and when not to talk.
And now Future. The same Future who once called Michael a lame and a diss track. The same Future who Lori ran to immediately after leaving Michael is out here laughing loudest of all. The layers of this situation are almost too much to untangle in one sitting. But let us try. Because this is not just a celebrity breakup story anymore. This is a full circle reckoning playing out in public, with receipts going back years.
These two dudes right here matter to me in a way where like he said, like if we going through something, we'll call each other. Because we feel for each other, because we know the real person.
Right, yeah.
I know they lying about you online.
Multiple people talking out of turn, and Lori Harvey caught in the middle of all of it, watching two men she dated respond to her choices in completely opposite ways. Michael is ignoring her calls. Future is on the internet clowning her. And Steve Harvey is out here telling stadiums that he cannot acknowledge his own daughter's exes anymore because she gave him specific instructions.
See, I gotta be real careful because Lori, boy, she be in my, I can't make no mistakes. I can't make stuff. I saw one of her exes somewhere at a game somewhere and I shook his hand, boy, I can't even touch his no more. I better not acknowledge him or look at him or nothing no more. So I'm off limits. If you are ex, your is my ex too. That's the rule. The rule in our house is any boy that's an ex, he's now my ex too.
You genuinely cannot make this up. To understand why the Oscar win hit the cultural conversation the way it did, you have to understand the specific way the breakup between Michael and Lori was handled. Because it was not handled cleanly, and the mess that was made at the time is the direct reason everything that followed landed so hard. When Michael and Lori split in 2022, the narrative that emerged was shaped almost entirely by Lori's side of the story. Her mother Marjorie got involved, and the specific angle that started circulating. That Michael only dated certain types of women, that Lori had grown beyond what he could offer her, was a narrative designed to position Lori as the one who walked away from something that was not serving her standards. Michael characteristically said almost nothing. He has spoken publicly about the value of keeping certain things private, about understanding when silence serves you better than explanation.
Said that she wasn't ready because when a woman finds a good one, then that's what you're looking for. But I will say that she's young still, you know what I mean? And I too was looking forward to them making it because I thought, oh, you know what? She's been looking for someone to keep on her arm, to be able to have a relationship with that is meaningful and is successful, because we know that the girl gonna keep her somebody that is gonna be newsworthy. But I think
damn Lisa Ray.
Yeah, absolutely. She ain't no joke. She ain't, and her mama, Marjorie, my girlfriend, she gonna make sure that she doing and navigating the right way, because she gonna make sure that she is. And I think every mother should do that, But I think at the same time, she's young. I think the established relationship that Michael did have before this one, I think that maybe that social media, that all of that was a lot for him. And I think that he, I heard about his ex, and him was so serious that he may have missed.
He held to that during one of the messiest periods of his public life and let the narrative run without giving it oxygen by responding. That silence was interpreted at the time as confirmation. If he had nothing to say, maybe there was nothing to say in his defense. Maybe Lori's side of the story was closer to the truth. The internet largely accepted the version that was being actively promoted and moved on. Then she started dating Damson Idris. And the conversation shifted. Because Damson is talented, genuinely, But the comparison the internet made immediately and kept making was unavoidable. This was not an upgrade. This was Lori trading a man who had been building toward the highest levels of the industry for someone significantly earlier in that same trajectory. People were diplomatic about it publicly. Privately, and in comment sections, they were not diplomatic at all. And then Future entered the picture. Or rather, Future had never really left the picture. He had been sitting in the background of this whole story since before Michael was even in it. Lori and Future's situationship existed before her relationship with Michael, and ended messily enough that when she moved on to Michael, Future felt some kind of way about it. His song Ma Bach contained bars that made his feelings unmistakable. He rapped about telling Steve Harvey he did not want her, about how she had no choice but to go find what he called a lame after him, about her begging him not to leave while he was draped in diamonds. Extended verses leaked that went even harder, and he posted a video with the caption that made clear he considered Lori a messy girl he regretted giving a chance. All of that was before Michael's Oscar win. Future had already been dragging Lori publicly. What the Oscar did was give him the biggest possible moment to do it again, in front of the largest possible audience, with the most undeniable possible context. Because when Michael B. Jordan wins the Academy Award for Best Actor, the question of who fumbled who in that relationship gets answered definitively by the universe in a way that no diss track or Instagram caption could manufacture. The conversation that erupted immediately after the win was not subtle. People were not tiptoeing. They were saying directly, Lori Harvey fumbled the prize, that the man she left, shaded, tried to get back, and then watched ignore her attempts at contact had just become something that could not be undisputed. An Oscar winner, the highest individual honor in the most visible entertainment industry on the planet. Hers to have kept if she had made different choices. Future was one of many people making this point, but he made it loudest and with the most pointed delivery because he had skin in the game. He was not just an observer commenting on someone else's relationship choices. He was the alternative she chose, the direction she went instead. And watching Michael B. Jordan hold an Oscar, while Lori was allegedly still not getting her calls returned, had a very specific meaning for a man who spent several years rapping about her being the one who downgraded after leaving him. The irony is thick enough to be uncomfortable. Because Future calling Lori out for fumbling, Michael requires a level of self-awareness that his own track record does not support. This is a man with enough children, by enough different women that even his fans struggle to keep an accurate count. A man who has publicly stated he has no interest in marriage and demonstrated through his behavior that commitment is not a value he operates around. A man whose treatment of the women in his life has generated its own extensive public record that does not reflect well on his authority to lecture anyone about recognizing a good thing and holding on to it. And yet, here he is. And the reason it lands is not because Future is a credible moral authority. It is because the specific thing he is pointing at is simply true. Lori had Michael B. Jordan. She left. She shaded him. She tried to come back. He did not come back. He won the Oscar. Future is just saying what everyone else is already thinking, with the specific added layer of someone who knows the whole backstory intimately and has waited a long time to see the receipts align this cleanly. Steve Harvey's position in all of this is its own separate comedy, because Steve clearly likes Michael. He has said as much in enough public settings that it has become a running element of this entire story. When the two of them bumped into each other at a basketball game recently, it was reportedly warm and genuine. Two people with genuine mutual respect for each other, whatever happened between their respective lives. And then Steve told an audience that Lori had issued specific instructions about not acknowledging her exes, which means no handshakes, no conversations, no interaction with any man who formerly occupied space in her personal life. Steve Harvey, delivering that story with the specific energy of a man who is both amused by and slightly trapped by his own daughter's rules, is the most relatable thing he has ever done publicly. He clearly finds the situation absurd. He clearly still has affection for Michael. And he is also clearly navigating the reality that Lori's feelings about who her father can and cannot greet at sporting events are not entirely optional for him to disregard. The source that started leaking information about Lori's post-Oscar outreach to Michael added a dimension to this story that changed the temperature. Because what had been a conversation about fumbling a relationship became, with that leak, a story about a woman actively trying to walk something back and being shut out completely. Michael not answering calls is not ambivalence. It is a closed door. It is a man who learned the value of keeping his private life private, who has spoken about knowing when to talk and when not to, deciding that this particular reopening is not something he is interested in entertaining. The contrast between how Michael and Future have responded to the same underlying situation tells you everything about who each of them is. Michael has said almost nothing. He is letting the Oscars speak. He is not retaliating against Lori's past comments, not amplifying the narrative of her trying to reconnect, not performing any version of satisfaction about how this chapter has resolved. He is simply being where he is, which happens to be at the top of his profession, and letting that location make whatever statement it makes. Future is on the internet, being loud, making the point everyone already understood, getting exactly the engagement his posts are designed to generate, and in doing so, accidentally making the case for why the comparison between him and Michael is not particularly close. Lori is the one sitting with all of it simultaneously. The fumble narrative that the internet has now decided is confirmed. The calls that are not being returned. The public comments from her own father that reveal more about the current state of her feelings than she probably wanted revealed. The comparison between where Michael is right now and where Damson Idris is, which is a comparison she has to live with regardless of how she feels about it being made publicly. She was the one who said, not long after the breakup, that she was the prize, that she did not compromise her values or her peace, that she walked away from situations that no longer served her. Those words sit in the record now next to an Oscar winner who will not return her calls and a man who made his disrespect of her the subject of a major label recording. The prize comment, delivered in the specific context of having left Michael B. Jordan to eventually circle back toward Future, has not aged gracefully. What happens from here is genuinely open. Lori is young, talented in her own right, and has the kind of platform and family support that most people in her position do not have access to. This does not have to define her story permanently. People recover from public fumble narratives all the time and go on to build things that make the earlier chapters look like necessary context rather than permanent verdicts. But the specific window, the Oscar win, the ignored calls, Future's clowning, Steve's accidental transparency, has created a moment in the cultural record that is going to be attached to her name for a long time. Not because the internet is cruel, though it is, but because the story has the specific shape of a cautionary tale that people who have made similar decisions in their own lives recognize and respond to. She had the man. She left the man. The man won the Oscar. That is the sentence. And no amount of reframing or repositioning changes what it means in the shorthand of how this story will be remembered. The Lori Harvey dimension of this story has been under-examined relative to how much she contributed to shaping the post-breakup narrative. Marjorie got visibly involved when things ended between Lori and Michael. The comments she made, the video she shared about sitting in something too long until it stopped smelling, a fairly unambiguous statement about leaving situations that have gone stale, were not the behavior of a mother staying out of her adult daughter's romantic business. They were the behavior of someone with opinions about how the breakup should be framed and enough platform to frame it publicly. The problem with that approach became visible gradually. Because when you go on offense in someone else's breakup, you are tethering your own reputation to the outcome. If the person you shaded goes on to become an Oscar winner who will not return calls, the comments you made on the way out age alongside the relationship they were meant to define. Marjorie backed a narrative that the internet has now largely rejected. And Steve, who has managed to stay genuinely warm toward Michael throughout all of this, has found himself navigating a family position that his own public candor has made complicated. The moment Steve revealed that Lori told him to stop acknowledging her exes at events was the moment this whole story became something more than celebrity gossip. Because it revealed that Lori is still actively trying to manage how the people in her life relate to Michael, which only makes sense if Michael still occupies significant space in how she thinks about her own story. You do not issue instructions about someone who has become irrelevant to you. You do not ask your father to avoid a man at basketball games unless that man's presence in your father's life is something that still touches something real in yours. The instructions also reveal something about Steve Harvey's genuine feelings. He told that story publicly, with the specific comedic energy of a man who finds the rule mildly absurd and cannot quite stop himself from letting the audience in on it. That is not a father who agrees with the instruction and is simply complying. That is a father who respects his daughter enough to follow her rules, but thinks the world is funny enough to occasionally acknowledge the comedy in them. Steve and Michael have genuine mutual regard for each other. Two people who, per Steve's own words, have the kind of relationship where they can call each other when they are going through something real because they know who the other person actually is, not the version of them that gets reported online. That relationship survived the breakup. It has apparently survived Lori's instructions. And it quietly tells its own story about what Steve Harvey actually thinks happened between his daughter and Michael B. Jordan. The Oscar win crystallized something that had been building since the moment Lori posted that license plate story and gave the interview about Michael not meeting her standards. Because those moments, when they happened, landed as Lori holding the narrative. She was the one setting the terms. She was the one defining what the relationship had been and why it ended. And Michael, who kept his thoughts private and let her version exist without challenge, looked like either someone without a response or someone secure enough not to need to give one. The Oscar answers that question retrospectively. The silence was not the absence of a response. The silence was the response. It was a man who understood that the work would speak louder than any interview, any counter-narrative, any Instagram caption about being the prize. He let her define the breakup in public. And then he went and won an Academy Award. That is the specific kind of winning that cannot be argued with. Not because it diminishes Lori. She has not become less successful because Michael won an Oscar, but because it retroactively reframes every piece of the public narrative about who walked away from what. The story was sold as Lori leaving something that was not serving her. The update to that story is that what she was not being served by is now an Oscar winner who will not take her calls. Future's clowning is ultimately a footnote in the larger story, even though it is the specific hook that brought this moment back into the conversation. He is a useful entry point, loud, pointed, with the specific credibility that comes from being the alternative she chose. But the substance of what he is saying is not his original observation. It is the universal observation that every person who has watched this situation develop has already made. He is just making it the loudest and doing it from the most personally motivated position available. What Future's involvement does is remind everyone simultaneously of two things: that Michael B. Jordan is an Oscar winner, and that the most visible alternative Lori chose is a man whose own relationship history is the punchline of a different but equally well-documented story. The juxtaposition is not flattering to the choice she made. And the fact that Future does not appear to understand that his clowning of Lori reads simultaneously as clowning of himself, as evidence that she downgraded not once, but potentially twice, is the specific irony that the internet has been pointing out every time he opens his mouth about this situation. Damson Idris has largely stayed out of this particular conversation, which is probably the right instinct for someone who does not benefit from being the third name in the comparison. But the internet has not afforded him that grace. The observation that he is currently trying to secure a role in the next Black Panther, the franchise Michael helped build into a cultural institution, while Lori is on the other side of an ignored phone to an Oscar winner, has a specific quality that people have been noting with the kind of specificity that suggests they are genuinely tracking the details. None of this is Damson's fault. He entered a situation that already existed. He did not create the comparison. He is simply living inside it. But the comparison exists regardless, and the shape of it does not resolve in a direction that helps the narrative Lori was trying to construct about having walked away from something that was not meeting her standards. The woman who said she was the prize, who said she did not compromise her happiness or her peace, and was not afraid to walk away from situations that no longer served her, is the same woman who dated Future before Michael and Damson after Michael. That specific sequence is the thing that makes the prize statement land the way it does when people play it back now, because the standards being described require a relationship history that supports them. And the history that is available for examination does not entirely support the narrative that Lori was operating at the level she said she was operating at when she made those comments about Michael. Michael won the Oscar. He is not picking up the phone. He kept his private life private and let the work tell the story. And the story it is telling, from the position he currently occupies, is one of the cleaner vindications the internet has witnessed in recent memory. Future is loud about it because he can be, because the moment lets him, because clowning Lori right now costs him nothing and gets him everything in terms of engagement and narrative positioning. But underneath the clowning, the substance of what has happened is much simpler and much quieter than Future's delivery suggests. A man did the work. The work produced results. The results speak for themselves. And everyone who said things on the way out of his life is now navigating the specific weight of what they said in the light of where he ended up. That is not a moral lesson, and it is not a scoreboard. It is just what happened. And what happened is that Michael B. Jordan won the Academy Award for Best Actor while reportedly not answering Lori Harvey's calls. The rest is commentary. Future can clown. Steve can tell the story about the handshake rule. The internet can replay the prize interview on loop. But the core of this moment is one sentence long. She had him. She left. He won. And the silence where a returned call should be says everything the Oscar already said, just in a different register. So here is where this lands. Michael B. Jordan is an Oscar winner who is reportedly not returning calls. Future is on the internet being Future. Steve Harvey is telling stadiums he cannot shake hands with his daughter's exes. And Lori Harvey is navigating the specific public reckoning of watching the man she left reach a peak that makes every comment she made on the way out sound significantly different than it did when she made it. Do you think Future has any standing to clown Lori over this? Or is he the absolute last person who should be making this argument? And does Michael staying silent and simply letting the Oscar do the talking make him look better or worse in all of this? Drop everything you are thinking in the comments, hit that, like, and subscribe, because Michael B. Jordan just got started, and this story just got a whole new chapter.